This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Surprise twist. The Crown swaps murder for manslaughter for a teen in the stabbing death of Ahmad Al-Maraq.
Retirement savings hit. A Nova Scotia woman says provincial medical allowances fell far short of her lung transplant expenses.
And the battle for Central Nova. We take a look at the race in the high-profile federal riding.
Chance of a few showers overnight and again throughout the day on Thursday, but a few sunny breaks in there as well. And the weekend not looking too bad. Your full forecast is coming up.
The only murder trial to come out of a deadly incident last year at the Halifax shopping centre is over.
Ahmad Al-Maraq was stabbed in a mall parkade and died later in hospital. 4 teens were charged with murder, but only one of them went to trial.
And today, the Crown announced it is no longer pursuing a second-degree murder charge against that teen. Blair Rhodes explains.
Before closing arguments could begin, the Crown announced that they were no longer confident they could prove the teen guilty of second-degree murder. So at the last minute, he instead found himself facing the lesser charge of manslaughter. 2 of the other teens involved in the attack on Ahmad Al-Maraq have already pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The third, the one who actually delivered the fatal knife wound, has pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. All 3 of them are in various stages of the sentencing process. In closing arguments, defense lawyer Anna Mancini asked Judge Elizabeth Buckle to consider the 3-minute fight as a series of separate incidents. Mancini's client initiated the fight with Al-Maraq. The 2 teens were fighting over a girl. It was supposed to be a one-on-one fist fight, but the teen arranged to have his friends join in almost immediately, turning it into a 3-on-1 assault. Mancini said her client had stopped fighting and asked Al-Maraq a couple of times whether he was done. But the other accused weren't finished. They continued fighting with Al-Maraq and threatened to steal his shoes. But even they appeared to have finished until one of them pulled out a knife and plunged it into Al-Maraq's chest. They all then fled the scene. The Crown says it would be wrong to break the fight down into separate segments. They say it all started with the invitation to a fist fight and ended with the stabbing, so it's all connected. Judge Buckle says she needs time to study the mountain of evidence in this trial. She'll hand down her verdict in June. Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Halifax.
And a Glasgow regional police officer has been charged with sexual assault. RCMP say it involves a complaint that was received last year about an incident in Antigonish in 2007. A woman who was a youth at the time told police she was assaulted by a man inside a home. Now, police say 38-year-old Corporal Kyle Lesko has been charged. At the time of the alleged assault, Lesko was an off-duty member of the Trenton Police Force. He is due in court next month.
Nurses from across the province are gathering this week for the annual general meeting of the Nova Scotia Nurses Union. While there are a variety of items being discussed, violence in the workplace was one of the most prominent. Michael Gorman reports.
The most painful part of the assault is not the pain or the physical discomfort so much as the silence of the employer.
Violence in the workplace was a major topic of discussion when the province's health minister attended the Nova Scotia Nurses Union annual meeting today in Truro. Several nurses talked about the growing concerns about their safety when dealing with patients and their families. This comes in the wake of 2 hospital employees in Halifax being stabbed earlier this year by a patient. Metal detectors have been installed at hospitals in Halifax and Dartmouth, and the health authority is looking at various measures for other sites. The health minister says there are a variety of things in the works, but she also encouraged nurses to press charges against anyone who harms them on the job and report all incidents to management.
If the reporting structure is not great, then let us know that so we can find a different way. But please don't feel discouraged. Reporting allows us to understand the incidences, and it also will inform policy, it will inform funding, it will inform different approaches. So I really don't want you to feel that it's futile.
The president of the Nurses Union said she'd like to see legislation change so that violence against healthcare workers leads to automatic charges, rather than requiring workers to advance the issue. The last contract for nurses included $7 million for workplace safety in acute care settings. But Janet Hazelton says there needs to be more money and a broader focus beyond regional hospitals to include long-term care, and community hospitals.
Violence is not just in most populated places. It's everywhere in this province. And we nurses deserve the same level of security regardless of where they work. More so in some of our smaller facilities, like Tatamagouche and Pugwash, there's 2 nurses, usually female, alone from all night long.
Hazelton says she believes the government is taking the issue seriously. She's optimistic change might finally happen, but she says the work must get going. Michael Gorman, CBC News, Truro.
Nova Scotia has increased funding for people who need to leave the province for health care that isn't offered here. The boost means people can claim up to $3,000 for their monthly accommodations. But one lung transplant recipient says that's nowhere near enough. Carolyn Ray reports.
3 days after her double lung transplant in December, Nan Clark was on her feet, a joyful moment after months of being critically ill.
I couldn't get to the elevator. He had to push me down the halls. It was like looking at a quarter-mile track.
6 years ago, Clark was diagnosed with a terminal lung disease. Her only chance of survival was a transplant. She knew it would be physically and emotionally difficult. What she didn't bank on was the cost.
You shouldn't have to go out and run a GoFundMe for finances in order to come up and get a life-saving transplant.
Lungs are the only organ that can't be transplanted in the Atlantic region. Instead, patients must move to Toronto when they get on the donation list, waiting an unknown amount of time for their match. Nova Scotian patients are given an allowance to cover rent, and this month that rose to $3,000. Clark says the only clean, furnished apartment she could find cost more than twice that, nearly $6,000 a month.
We were panicking, and I wanted my lung transplant, and Dave knew I wanted it. And so we chose here.
It's not reasonable, in my mind, that the Nova Scotia government treats individuals who have to leave the province for care as a second-class citizen.
A few years ago, provincial funding was so low that some patients were choosing palliative care and dying instead of risking bankruptcy for their families. Now there are new concerns that inflation could push patients in that direction once again.
There's difficult decisions that families may have to make in order to have access to this potentially life-saving surgery.
So I don't think the conversation is over. I think we're in the midst of that conversation now, given the cost of, all of the different costs that have been escalated over time.
The Clarks say the current system sends a clear message to the unfortunate few who need lung transplants.
Be prepared financially to make a big commitment, and otherwise stay home and die from the disease.
The Clarks say they've spent more than $40,000 out of their retirement fund to cover their costs. They plan on tallying up the exact total and sending the bill to Nova Scotia's Premier. Carolyn Ray, CBC News, Halifax.
Happy to report there were no complaints about the weather today, that's for sure.
No, the sunshine and warmer temperatures sure were nice.
Yeah, a few showers kicking around, and that will continue as we move into tonight as well. And much like today, we will see Thursday some sunshine in the mix. Definitely towards the western and central areas a little bit more. Cloud will be a little bit more dominant and a little stubborn to clear for the east and northeast. Note the temperatures back in the 6 to 10 range. Winds from the west to southwest, 20 gusting 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. And yeah, looking pretty good with those temps for this time of year. There are the chances for showers primarily this evening into the early overnight. Thursday, just on the backside of this low, we've got this trough that's kind of digging in. That will bring the risk of an isolated shower for Thursday. The clouds, as I said, a bit stubborn, but I do think we'll see a solid mix of sun and cloud into the afternoon for the west and central. Friday, that's going to be the pick of the long weekend. We've got the sunshine on tap, some increasing clouds towards Friday night, and then as we move into Saturday, we do have some scattered showers on the way for Saturday. On the other side of this front, the winds are going to get pretty gusty for Sunday. There's a lot of variety with the Easter weekend forecast, and we'll talk about it in all the details coming up.
Yeah, mixing it up.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks,
Ryan.
Thank you.
Central Nova Liberal candidate Sean Fraser says he takes nothing for granted as he re-enters a political race he won in 3 consecutive elections. His Conservative opponent enjoyed some high-profile support recently, namely from Peter MacKay and the party's deputy leader. Preston Mulligan looks at the race and how it's shaping up in Central Nova.
Well, it's lovely seeing you both again. Thanks for coming by. And keep spreading that word.
Sean Fraser, the Liberal candidate in Central Nova, chats with supporters outside his campaign headquarters in New Glasgow. Fraser, who left politics to spend more time with his family, is back in after a call from Liberal leader Mark Carney. Fraser says his about face isn't about the Liberals' sudden and positive shift in the polls.
For anybody who has that cynical approach, I'd invite them to check out the electoral history of Central Nova. In my lifetime, you've only seen one person before me actually successfully be elected as a Liberal in this riding.
Conservative Bryson Jenkins had some high-profile support from the Conservative Party of Canada's deputy leader, Melissa Lantsman. In a Facebook post, Jenkins says voters want change and are worried about affordability.
There's still excitement for change in the riding, and we're looking forward to bringing it home.
Jenkins did not respond to our requests for an interview. The NDP's nominee is Josiah McDonald, who says it's been a challenge recruiting volunteers and raising money. McDonald is a trans man who says he's in this race for those living below the poverty line.
I like to be visible and use that visibility for as much benefit to the community as I can. Just because personally I've not been afraid to put myself out there in that capacity, and not a lot of people can. So I don't take that visibility for granted. And I also don't take for granted that I'm able to live in a community where I'm safe to be open and out.
The candidates we spoke with say the voters in Central Nova are preoccupied by the U.S. and the threatening rhetoric coming from its president. And according to pollsters, it's a phenomena that favors the Liberals. Preston Mulligan, CBC News, New Glasgow.
Ontario has joined Nova Scotia and New Brunswick in taking the lead on dropping trade barriers between one another. The premiers of each province gathered Wednesday in Toronto to discuss the impact of barriers and the benefits of removing them.
They reduce our national GDP by more than 7% and cost our economy up to $200 billion every single year. In other words, much like President Trump's tariffs, these trade barriers hurt our economy, drive away jobs and investment, and divide us from each other.
The premiers say their agreement will open the doors between provinces for skilled workers and goods to move around freely. The premiers say this will also help address a shortage of nurses and doctors in some areas. They're calling on the other provinces to do the same.
The Bank of Canada is pausing its interest rate cuts, keeping its benchmark rate unchanged. It's a decision it says was dominated by one consideration: Donald Trump's tariff war.
Since January, we've had a seismic shift in U.S. trade policy and a sharp increase in uncertainty. New tariffs are now in place on key Canadian industries and on every other U.S. trade partner.
The central bank called the U.S. shift to protectionism chaotic, making inflation more likely. The bank is still waiting to see the tariffs' impacts on the Canadian economy. It's also watching for more U.S. policy change, and it says the future of that is no clearer. Well, some Nova Scotia athletes are representing Canada on the ice at the World Junior Curling Championships in Italy this year.
Of the 5 people on the women's team, 3 are from this province, including Alison Umlaw. She says representing her home province and country has been a dream come true.
It's amazing. It's such an honor to wear the maple leaf, and it's something that all young curlers dream of growing up. And yeah, it's just such an honor and a privilege. And we know that we have like the whole country supporting us, and we have so many family and friends here in the stands with maple leafs, flags and bells, and it's just so amazing and it's so much fun.
Umlaw from Dartmouth is the second on the Canadian women's team. Maria Fitzgerald, who hails from Halifax, is the third, and the team skip, Allie McNutt, is from Truro.
The same lineup represented Canada at last year's World Championships in Finland. Umlaw says the support for the team, both at home and in Italy, has been overwhelming. The competition wraps up on April the 21st.
Some folks out and about in downtown Wolfville. Pretty nice day for that.
Not a bad day for a stroll wherever you were.
And Ryan's got his full forecast coming up. We'll see you after the break.
Welcome back. If you are a university or college student at a number of schools across the country, today is the last day on campus for advanced voting.
Election officials have opened the special polling stations in hopes of boosting turnout among young voters. And the stations are open to non-students too, anyone who is eligible to vote.
The CBC's Brett Ruskin has more from the campus of Dalhousie University.
Polling has been happening over the last couple of days at locations like this one on campuses all across the country. More than 100 locations at post-secondary institutions, universities and campuses, allowing more opportunities for students and staff and really anyone who wants to, is walking past, who wants to cast their ballot to do so at these locations. Now, we heard from some students speaking with the CBC's Peter Cowan in St. John's about some of the issues that are top of mind for them as this election campaign continues.
I'm looking to see if we can get more so more research can happen. And right now, the Liberal Party is offering more.
I am mostly thinking about basic reproductive rights, gender rights, the right to self-determine, that sort of thing. A lot of it is spurred by, of course, the results of the American election.
Science funding is probably one of the most important things for me, especially because not only am I a student, but that's what I want to do as a career.
So that's what a few of them will be thinking when they cast their ballot. Again, anyone can wander in and vote. It is going to be via special ballot. What makes it special is that there won't be the list of candidates that you would typically see, and you just mark an X next to them. You actually have to know the name of the candidate that you are going to be supporting and to write their name into the ballot. Now, you'll also be voting in the riding of your residency, so that if you're going to school here in Halifax, but you typically live most of the year in Calgary, you'll be voting and selecting from those Calgary riding candidates. So a couple of things you need to know. Logistically, if you are choosing to use these campus voting opportunities, obviously you can vote at returning offices across the country. You can take advantage of the advanced polling opportunities, which kick off this weekend, and you can vote on election day. So lots of different opportunities to have your voice heard during this election. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Halifax.
I think Brett was getting a suntan there today. It was nice and sunny for most of the day in Halifax, for sure.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock to the system after all the gray we've been having. You get a couple of days of sunshine in a row. It's pretty nice, though.
It is, and we'll see more sunshine in the mix over the next couple of days. Friday, kind of the brightest day, I think, really of the next 7. Looking pretty good there. But we'll see a fair amount of sunshine even over the next 7 days, give or take. A couple of days in there. Have a look, first and foremost, at our webcam video, and if you have motion sickness, maybe don't look right at this.
A little movement there, yeah.
Yeah, the wind rocking this camera a little bit on the South Shore. Again, this is Quarter Deck Resort there.
That's a nice spot.
Sky's so pretty there, isn't it?
It really is. And yeah, the winds have been a little bit gusty today, no question, especially along that Atlantic coastline. So yes, beautiful there. As we look at our temperatures out there right now, 7 degrees in and around the South Shore, 5 in Halifax, 10 still hanging on to the double digits. Pictou and Ingonish, one of our hotter spots today, was at 15. It's now at 13. The winds, yeah, indeed, from the southwest, sustained in the 20-30 range, gusting, 40 actually sustained in through Yarmouth right now, gusting to 54 there, gusting 40 to 50 kilometers per hour pretty much across the southwest here. And not shy from 50 in through Sydney as well. We've been watching, as expected, these showers that have been kind of developing here, including in through central areas in the metro area, and more activity across New Brunswick, but we will continue to see, excuse me, might as well clear the frog in my throat early on here. It's a marathon, right? Now, as we look at the weather systems map, we are looking at, this is the trough that's going to kind of swing through the region overnight and into Thursday as well, keeping the clouds just a little bit on the sluggish side. Could be a bit more in the way of a few isolated showers as well. This is the area of high pressure that will move in for Friday. And then, yeah, we are watching another low that's set to roll in for the weekend. Look at the warm air surging up across the central parts of the U.S. right now. 12 in Regina, 15 in Winnipeg as things warm up a little bit there. Still cool in through the Great Lakes. Temperatures on the rise here across Atlantic Canada. 2-3 degrees through the overnight tonight. Those southwest winds will become light, which will be nice by the time we get to tomorrow morning. The shower chances will linger even into the evening and early overnight. By the time we get to Thursday, you can see the clouds looking a little bit on the stubborn side, as I said, a little bit dominant. A few isolated shower chances for most in the morning. And then as we move into the afternoon, the greatest risk is going to be the east and into Cape Breton, while as the west and then eventually into central will become a mix of sun and cloud into the afternoon. So yeah, the clouds expected to remain mainly cloudy through Thursday in through Cape Breton, but some sun breaks in the mix, 6 to 10 degrees for most. A bit cooler in places like Cheticamp and Ingonish, where we could even see a morning flurry mixing in. 7 to 9 degrees through the eastern parts of the mainland, with a chance for showers and clouds lingering for much of the day up towards New Glasgow and Tatamagouche as well. A brighter sky developing into the afternoon for central areas, including Halifax, which should be right near the double-digit mark for Thursday. And back into the west, morning shower chances then becoming a mix of sun and cloud and looking like a pretty nice afternoon there, 8 to 10 degrees. Friday, beautiful. Sunshine, some high cloud cover rolling in late afternoon and evening on the leading edge of this next system. Friday temperatures 8 to 10, even 8 to 12, in fact, for the mainland, near 6 to 7 degrees for Cape Breton. Note, not a lot of wet weather coming in with this system. Shower chances, yes, Saturday off and on. The breezy winds kicking in from the southwest will keep temperatures mild. And then this is the front we're watching for Sunday. Couple of things with this front. One, it will bring a chance for showers in the morning, and then we're going to see that clear out from the greatest chances for showers into the afternoon, but still a lingering risk. But behind the front, Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening, the winds are going to punch in from the northwest as the skies clear. The temperatures are going to drop a little bit into the afternoon, but those winds are going to be the big story. They're going to be gusting 50, 60, maybe even 70 kilometers per hour Sunday, late afternoon into the evening, and staying gusty into early Monday before easing as that area of high pressure does come in and start to clear us out. So we do have, some breezy winds still to linger on Monday, but a clear out, as we said, with some sun and cloud. Shower chances back on tap for Tuesday, Wednesday, but overall, a wide variety this weekend, kind of like the Easter eggs, each day painted a little different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
hang on to that Easter basket.
Yeah,
though,
no
for
kidding.
sure.
It'll be a lot worse. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, SailGP, the international high-performance sailing competition, is coming back to Halifax in 2026. Well, the sun back on the Halifax waterfront and SailGP back for 2026, and two people are very excited about that with me now here on the Halifax waterfront. Sarah Flanagan's with Sail Nova Scotia, and Billy Gooderham is the flight flight controller, excuse me, for the Canada entry to SailGP, and we talked last fall.
Yes.
And you were very hopeful that this event would be coming back. What does it mean that it is now officially back?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that it's such a great venue here in Halifax, and then obviously this being my hometown is makes it really special. Not only the commute to work is shorter than normal, but it's a great venue. You know, the support from the public here is fantastic, so it's a huge win for us.
Yeah, Billy's from Bedford, and obviously excited to be sailing in the Halifax waters for sure. What will people expect?
I think we're going to expect, well, obviously we want to have a North Star SailGP team win, but I think we just want to make sure that we put on a great event like we had here last summer, and then obviously learn from those lessons to break every record that we broke once again here. So that's sort of the goal, I think.
All about the speed for sure. You were very integral in getting this back to Halifax again as part of your organization. Can you tell us what it took to get this event back?
I mean, it took a village in a lot of respects. Sail Nova Scotia, along with its support from the province of Nova Scotia and Halifax Regional Municipality and the Port of Halifax, have been working very hard since the event occurred in 2024 to ensure that we could have it back in 2026. So lots of planning, lots of discussions, and we're happy that we were able to secure the bid and that we have everyone coming back in the June of 2026.
Yeah, and some people would have liked to have it back in 2025, but there's a lot goes into securing the bid for this, isn't there?
There is, and you know, SailGP goes across the world in many venues, so sometimes the schedule just doesn't line up, but that's why we knew we had to work hard to make sure they came back for 2026.
So how will it look differently, or will it look at all differently from 2024?
I mean, the success of 2024 was absolutely fantastic. So many records broken. We had 50,000 people down on the waterfront, so I think we want to take all the success from that event and see if we can improve upon it this time around and make the magic happen again.
So Billy, you've been sailing all around the world and you've seen the reaction of crowds in different places. What is it, if anything, in your mind, set Nova Scotia or Halifax apart?
Well, I think there's so much maritime culture here. You know, whether you actually sail or not, everybody knows what sailing is around here. There's, you know, we're a province surrounded by the ocean, and so with SailGP being something that happens on the ocean, it's sailing, it's a maritime thing. You know, we're powered by nature, all that kind of good stuff. That there's such huge buy-in from the public. You know, I sort of walk down the street sometimes and people will say like, hey, like, good luck this week, or when I'm at the airport, someone will say like, I'll go get them next weekend wherever you're going, and so that buy-in from the general public makes it so special. It makes that fan engagement so such an awesome thing.
And so as flight controller, what kind of challenges does Halifax Harbour present?
Well, usually pretty windy, so there's the pucker factor from that.
Yeah.
But then as well with the cold water, so when the water density changes, how the foil reacts to the water changes. So the cold water is a bit of an outlier, and the salinity of the water makes the density change as well. So there's a huge number of factors that are sort of nature's factors, but then also we have such a tight race course here, which makes it great for viewing for the fans, but makes a day at the office for a flight controller definitely hard work.
Yeah, no necessarily a hometown advantage for you?
Oh, I think it is a hometown advantage because I get to go out sailing here more often than anybody else. But yeah, definitely makes for a busy day at the office if you're a flight controller on an F-50.
Okay, fair enough. In terms of a tourism, as a sports tourism event, this one rates pretty big in this region for sure. What does it mean in terms of an economic boost or value to people who are in this province of tourism?
I mean, in 2024, it was we knew it was going to be big, but I don't know if we could anticipate how big it was going to be, with an estimated $25 million in economic impact on the city and the province. You know, that is huge around here. So it also brings in people from across Canada and outside of Canada to come visit Canada's Ocean Playground and see that we are a premier sailing destination.
And what does it do for the local sailing scene?
I mean, the legacy piece from hosting a SailGP event is massive. At Sail Nova Scotia, our motto is that there's a boat for everyone, and we want to get everyone in a boat. So that legacy piece for our sailors and our clubs is immense, but it also really showcases the sport of sailing to a wider audience and gets them both interested and excited about the sport of sailing.
Okay. In the meantime, you're off all around the world, aren't you, for these next few months?
Yeah, so no rest for the weary here. We just we finished up the California swing a few weeks ago, where we had a first place in Los Angeles and a second in San Francisco. So that was a good couple of weeks at the office, and then we're heading off to New York at the beginning of June, and then we move over to Europe for the course of the summer, and then we finish off in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi in November. So frequent flyer miles come thick and fast.
No kidding. And in 2026, back here in Halifax Harbour, will it be a multi-year event?
That is an answer that is well above my pay grade. I'm just the guy who flies the boat. But I mean, there's fingers crossed. You always want it to come to your hometown, but there's a lot of factors that go into that.
All right. Well, congratulations to you both. Looking forward to 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, a landmark decision. The UK Supreme Court rules transgender women are not legally considered women under the Equality Act.
And head-to-head, federal party leaders are gearing up for tonight's French language debate, but one leader will not be taking the stage. Welcome back. Community members in New Brunswick's Bilich First Nation also known as Kingsclear, are shaken after a violent incident in the area last night.
It started when RCMP responded to a call about an assault, but things escalated quickly. The CBC's Silas Brown has the details.
The New Brunswick RCMP say a 34-year-old man has been charged with attempted murder after barricading himself inside of a house and shooting at police officers on Tuesday afternoon on Billich First Nation. According to a release, 7 RCMP vehicles were struck and damaged, and an officer wearing a ballistic helmet was hit in the head. No one was injured. Police eventually used tear gas to arrest Michael Sabatis. Billich Chief Gabriel Atwin said a fire burned the home of 2 elders to the ground. Firefighters and investigators could be seen picking through the remains on Wednesday. Atwin says people in the community are shaken up, and thoughts are with the elders who lost their home in the fire.
We're going to have to look at rebuilding that for them, and I'm just glad that our community is safe and was safe. It's a tragic, obviously a tragic event for such a small community like ours, and being Indigenous, our community is put together much closely and tighter than others. Yeah. So, yeah, just thankfully everyone's okay, and we'll have to get on the road to healing our community.
And that report by the CBC's Silas Brown.
In international news, the UK Supreme Court has unanimously ruled that the legal definition of woman is based on a person's sex at birth. It means transgender women are not legally women under the nation's equality legislation and can be excluded from single-sex spaces. Anna Cunningham reports from London.
The debate over whether trans women can be regarded as female under the UK's 2010 Equality Act has become a political battleground here in the UK in recent years. The highest court in the land delivered its ruling.
The terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex. But we counsel against reading this judgment as a triumph of one or more groups in our society at the expense of another. It is not.
Supporters of the group For Women Scotland celebrated. The group brought this appeal, arguing against the Scottish Government's decision that transgender people with a gender recognition certificate are entitled to sex-based protections. The group denies being transphobic.
This is not about prejudice or bigotry, as some people would say. It's not about hatred for another community. It's just about saying that there are differences, and biology is one of those differences, and we just need protections based on that.
From the trans community, there is disappointment, frustration, and for some, fear.
No judge can tell me who I am. And it feels just like we're following in the footsteps of Trump's America.
Social media has been awash with comments, including this from the British author J.K. Rowling. She says in Winning, they've protected the rights of women and girls across the UK. The campaign group Scottish Trans issued a statement expressing its shock, saying the judgment seems to have totally missed what matters to trans people, that we are able to live our lives and be recognised in line with who we truly are. The British government too has commented. It says this judgment has provided clarity for services including hospitals, refuges for women and sports clubs. What is clear is that despite this legal ruling, this debate remains polarising. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
The moment of drama has arrived in the federal election campaign with the 2 debates, first in French, then in English. The CBC's Julia Wong looks at how the leaders spent the day ahead of the opening act.
In a dramatic turn of events, one party leader will not be taking the debate stage. Wednesday morning, the debate commission withdrew the Green Party's invitation because it isn't running enough candidates.
And we had to take the day to look at our options. But one thing is clear, we will keep campaigning. We will keep fighting for a greener, fairer future for Canadians. But once again, I find this decision truly unfortunate. Monsieur Carney.
At least one leader throwing support to the Greens.
It's unfortunate. It was surprising to learn of it this morning. As I understand, the party wasn't consulted about the decision, but it's a decision of the commission.
Liberal leader Mark Carney was all smiles as he visited a popular poutine restaurant, shaking hands, posing for photos, even signing a copy of one of his books. The crowd here more welcoming than what he can expect during the debate. The perceived frontrunner will likely be on the defense, says one expert.
I think that the NDP, the Bloc, the Conservatives will use this opportunity to, of course, attack Mark Carney. And they hope that if they can do well in these two debates, that they might be able to improve their situation.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh stayed out of the spotlight. The local candidates were busy, joining a daycare workers' picket line. Tonight's debate will be pivotal, according to one Quebec candidate.
It's an opportunity for Canadians to hear what the leaders have to say, and I think we've been distinguishing ourselves very clearly on the issues that matter to Canadians.
The leaders of the Bloc Québécois and Conservative Party suspended their campaigns for the day, opting instead for last-minute debate prep. And in a very Canadian twist, the French debate is taking place earlier than originally scheduled. The debate was moved up 2 hours to avoid conflicting with a pivotal Montreal Canadiens game. Then Thursday, the leaders will do it all again as they make their pitch to Canadians in the English debate. Julia Wong, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Green Party says the decision to drop them from the leaders' debate is undemocratic. The invitation was withdrawn just hours before the French debate in Montreal, as we heard. The reason, the party no longer met the criteria for inclusion. David Thurton has the latest.
Mr. Pedno, are you going to appeal?
Jonathan Pedno was supposed to drop his policy platform. Instead, he was dropped.
Their last-minute decision to exclude the Green Party of Canada from the leaders' debate is not only unjust and baseless, because we met the criteria, it is undemocratic.
The Greens failed to meet the requirements. It did not have enough candidates in 90% of ridings, and the party took some off the ballot to avoid electing Conservatives.
And we took the decision in other cases to be the adult in the room.
The choice cost Pedno his podium for both the French and English debates, a political stage that attracts millions of viewers. According to the Debates Commission, because the Greens did that for strategic reasons, it no longer meets the bar to justify inclusion. Greens received a letter just 12 hours before showtime, shocking party veterans.
I think it's unfortunate. I think now more than ever it's important to have Green voices in these debates on the national stage discussing climate policy.
It's very clear that a mistake was made within the Debates Commission. Please reverse your last-minute, hasty, and incorrect decision.
A blow as well for a leader struggling to win a Montreal seat.
Would you consider voting for the Green Party in this election?
Well, from what I know, they're not very popular.
Do you think he has a chance?
I mean, realistically, it's always been a small party, so I don't know.
Yeah. Reporters asked Pedno whether or not he will be challenging the decision. He said he and his team are exploring their options. David Thurton, CBC News, Montreal.
It's Election Day in prisons and jails across Canada, a right federal inmates have had for more than 20 years. As ballots are being cast, a Canadian senator is trying to improve the process. The CBC's Natalia Goodwin explains the challenges that still exist for incarcerated voters.
Rick Sauvé was still in prison when he started the fight to get inmates the right to vote. That was in the 80s. It took him until 2002 and a visit to the Supreme Court to win the right for every inmate, something he thinks is essential to rehabilitation.
You keep telling people that are inside prison that they're not worthy to have those civil rights. You're telling them that they're not worthy to be in the community. That's the way that people inside feel.
Sauvé has continued to advocate for prisoners' rights, including around voting. Now he's getting some help. Senator Bernadette Clément has launched a report on the issue. She was in Kingston Wednesday at the Collins Bay Institution to watch the vote in person. During her research, she discovered that barriers still exist, including getting information.
They don't get direct information from the parties. And so they're very well aware that they want to have unfiltered information, not just through ads. They want to be able to access platform information or party websites, but they can't do that because there is no internet access. So that is part of the barrier.
Correctional Service Canada says it ensures every offender is made aware of their right to vote and is provided with an opportunity to do so, and says if a candidate or campaign volunteer wants to visit an institution, they can, and CSC would arrange a meeting room where inmates could talk to them. Campaigns can also provide literature, which would be put in a common area, like a library. But Clément says part of the problem is that inmates have to vote in the riding where they last lived, where they would live if not incarcerated, or where they were arrested or convicted.
They cannot vote from the riding where the prison is located. And that creates an extra barrier in terms of registration. But it also means that they can't vote on issues concerning their institution. They can't vote in the riding where they will spend, many of them, many years of their lives.
Senator Clément does not have a fixed date as to when the report will be out, but hopes it will be available a few weeks after the election. She plans to share it with any inmates that want to see it and send it to officials with Correctional Service Canada and Elections Canada, both of which she hopes to get responses from. Natalia Goodwin, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canadian researchers are raising the alarm on children's mattresses. A new study has found chemicals in them which can be harmful to kids' health. Alison Northcott shares what the risks are and how parents can protect their kids.
But the shiny new engine snorted.
As a father of two, Trevor Vanderdolen wants to protect his kids from harmful chemicals.
There's chemicals in all the products that we have in our home, but when it affects like a vulnerable population like kids, yeah, it does worry me.
A fine big chain.
A new study suggests young children may be exposed to chemicals from their mattresses at levels above the Canadian guidelines.
Now you're taking a chunk out of this flexible polyurethane foam.
Researchers at the University of Toronto took a close look at 16 children's mattresses like these, all purchased in Canada. They found one exceeded the Canadian limit for a chemical plasticizer used to make materials more flexible, and another used a fire retardant banned in Canada for products for children under 3 because it can be harmful to their health.
Manufacturers must be more vigilant. They are selling products that are intended to help kids. They need to make sure that their products are safe.
The risks are across many different aspects of healthy development, from the respiratory systems to their immune systems to their neurodevelopment.
This researcher says Canada should take the findings and these chemicals seriously.
We don't know enough about them in terms of what products can contain them and how much they're containing. That we should be expecting more in terms of those who are safeguarding our consumer products.
Can you hold your stuffies?
For parents like Vanderdolen, researchers say there are ways to minimize exposure and risk by decluttering the sleeping area, adding extra layers for protection on top of the mattress, and washing sheets and clothing frequently.
Health Canada says it's aware of the study and looking over the findings to identify any risks to human health or non-compliance with regulatory requirements. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Strength in the energy sector helped Canada's main stock index make a small gain today, even as U.S. markets fell. Here's a look at the numbers as we head to break. We're happy, right? Everyone. Amy's even dressed like the sun today.
You know,
Yes,
I was
not,
going to
not
point
the
that
Easter
out.
bunny, but you know.
Yeah,
It's been
I know.
wonderful.
You're the bright light on this desk
Yeah.
always, but
My jacket is anyhow.
definitely today. Have a look at our viewer picture of the day, and this one we're going zooming in to the Dartmouth area. That's all Joseph said was this was in the Dartmouth area.
Wow, what a great
An undisclosed
shot.
location in Dartmouth.
Yes,
Like it.
Osprey take flight, flying into the long weekend, and Joseph, as you can see here, with a beautiful shot under a gray sky, but a beautiful shot. Thanks to Joseph for that. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Temperatures ranging between 6 and 10 for the mainland on Thursday. 8-9 degrees across most of Cape Breton. Could see a couple of double digits there towards Richmond County and back towards the Bredor Lake. And then for Friday, we're looking at temperatures 8 to 12 on the mainland, near 6 for Cape Breton, under a mix of sun and cloud. And we will walk you through this quickly. You can see still some isolated shower chances under a pretty cloudy sky for Thursday as that low starts to move out. We've got high pressure, sunshine on tap for Friday. Building clouds for Friday night into Saturday as this next system rolls in. Scattered showers, not a washout. This isn't definitely not a day that you'll have to hunker right down, but make sure you do have the umbrella or the rain jacket. That front will then move through on Sunday. Best chance for a shower will be in the morning. Can't rule out a shower into the afternoon, especially in the Cape Breton and the east, but the big thing will be we've got the northwest wind punching in as the skies clear. The winds will really start to kick in. Gusts 50, 60, maybe even 70 kilometers per hour. That strong wind will linger for Sunday night into Monday morning as well. And then the winds easing through Monday as that area of high pressure settles in with some sunshine. So yes, I've been advertising it as a wide variety weekend weather-wise, and it certainly will be that.
Something for everyone. Okay, thanks, Ryan. Well, if you have any ideas for a few ferocious sounding names, we can point you to some lion cubs that may need them.
Yeah, these are 12-week-old Northern African lion cubs at a zoo in England. Keepers say all 4 cubs have had their first health check and are doing well.
With the new arrivals, the zoo now has a pride of 10 Northern African lions. The public is being asked to help name the young cubs.
Just remember, they get big.
They do.
Real big. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.